Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Volpe Create Show, the weekly talk show about video games and creative technology. We are on site today at a closed coffee shop because the power in our neighborhood is out. So we're doing the best I can to do the show. But Lucas, how are you?
Doing all right with the circumstances we have. I'm lucky enough to have my power, even though Chris is pretty much a mile or two away. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's windy, but it's a beautiful day. So I don't know why the power's out in a pretty big block. Oh, it looks like the light might be back on. I don't know. Forget it. We're here. We're committed. Also, baby is here.
Yes.
And then DB, our special guest of the week, my friend, G-Dexer for a long time,
Yeah.
voice actor extraordinaire. Uh, what else? What else should we title you?
Golly, casting and directing, for video games and stuff. I am also a commercial voice actor for things that you see on TV and hear on radio, and I'm working at ZeniMax Online now as VO supervisor for Elder Scrolls Online.
I have heard of that game. Yes, yes.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So that's your kind of, I guess, your big new thing, right?
It
Being a part of
absolutely
that,
is.
being a part of that team. What's it like?
So different because I've been a freelancer forever and a day. And so, I mean, I've been doing freelance VO since like 1999. And I've had other jobs like other jobs that count as jobs, like I worked for CBS Radio as a staff announcer along with doing freelance stuff. So there have been other adjunct things, but this is actually a job where it's like you start at a time and you end at a time and have meetings and stuff. So I mean, that's really way different than I've had to do in the last 20 years. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know we get a lot of folks in the community or come to GDEX who want to be in the voice acting space,
Mm.
and they're always curious about that freelancer. How do you do the freelancing lifestyle? But you've managed to land an actual, as you say, an actual real job.
Yeah, I did. So I call it coming in from the cold, like a spy. Because it's so completely different. The thing that is the most different for me is, because I don't live in a big city. I don't live in New York or LA. I live in Maine, and so most of my hustling is on my own, and it has been that way for all these years. And now that I'm actually working for a company that makes games, I've got tasks every day. I don't have the perpetually empty calendar, that one does when one is freelance. You always have stuff coming up and jobs come in and all that kind of stuff. But 3 weeks from now, what do you have? Anything? Unless you're in a series. And so it's nice. It's nice to be able to look forward and know that you've got really meaningful work coming up. And you're also working with really wonderful people. That's the thing that I really like, is that everybody on the audio team at this company they're people I wanna spend time with in real life. So it's great. It's just awesome. I'm not alone anymore.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And
Yeah.
I mean, Elder Scrolls is obviously a big title, so it's probably
Oh,
a pretty large team you're working with
great group of
in
people.
general.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things I always thought was cool when you and I would chat
Mm.
is I think we're both in this sort of island of video games, but not in cities that are known for video games.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just always are, like you said, you've got your empty calendar, you got to fill it up.
Mhm.
So why have you stayed in Maine? Why not go into the big bad world of LA or New York?
See, I love Los Angeles. It's my favorite city, and I was born in California, so I'm from there. But there are things that uh, situations conspired against me in 2012 that made me leave the West Coast and come back here, and that's all I will say about that. And I've managed to do well enough here that why spend the money living in Los Angeles if I don't have to? You know what I'm saying? I own a house in Maine. I'm the luckiest person in the world. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here. It's I'm here because I'm here, really, and doing well enough that I actually don't have to be in New York or Los Angeles. I still do work there occasionally through the agents that I have. Um, it's enough, and it's been pretty awesome. This business about working for ZeniMax as compared to doing something freelance also has to do with being able to. I'm going to be moving down to Maryland because they're based out of um, Hunt Valley, which is north of Baltimore. The idea of being in an office with real people most of days, if not every day, is just really appealing to me. Because usually it's just see where I am in my booth, it's just me. It's just me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I love it's like, your office. Remember when I came to visit you and I got to see everybody working and it was in this
Yeah,
wonderful
totally.
workspace and I love that. I miss people. And that's a big part of the allure. And being able to get to know people long distance, I know that I like these people and I'm looking forward to being right there with them.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had to close the office down because of COVID, so
Sure.
we've been working remote for I don't know, 2.5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do, I get to spend the day with baby girl and my cat, but I do
Mhm.
miss being able to just like go to lunch or just walk around. We used to do a lot of walk and talks where we just walk around the office, go outside for 15 minutes. And yeah, it's nice to be around people, particularly if you like them. Like it's great.
Yeah.
It's almost like you get to come in and have a little play date with people that you
What a
like.
great way to say it. It is like a play date. It absolutely is. And it's not just the collegiality, it's the what happens to you when you are in a group of like-minded people in the same space. It's the synergistic thing. Honestly, it's the kind of thing that happens in theater when you're
Yeah.
doing a play or a performance of any kind where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. It's why we do this stuff. That supernatural extra thing happens when you're actually in the presence of other people. That's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. I think that those creative collisions they call them,
Yeah,
uh,
that's awesome.
like you just like my wife works at IBM. She's a software engineer. A lot of the stuff she does is very like operational, process based stuff. And she's been working from home for I don't know, 14, 15 years or whatever. That's what
Mhm.
IBM wanted to do.
Yeah,
But it's a lot harder when you're trying to do creative stuff, when you just want to like look over and be like, hey, can you check this out? And then you can
yeah,
talk about it right next to each other. It's just a lot harder to do that, even with Slack, even with Discord, even with daily
yeah,
stand ups.
yep.
Um,
And we have all of those means of communication as well.
mhm.
At ZeniMax, so there is a collegiality which is almost instant, which is miles apart from being a freelancer on your own in a remote studio. So even those things, which are the pandemic, band-aids, are enormously valuable. And I can talk to anybody anytime I need to. If it's like I've got something I need, can I talk to you about it? Sure, click, ring, and it's great. So having that at my fingertips is it's worlds apart. The There was a meme, I don't know if you saw it, and you might have, because your wife works from home.
We're going
Um,
into memes. This is good.
yep, going into
We're
memes.
going in deep.
It was the Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino where he's sitting on the front porch, he's got that scowl, and it says,
Hmm.
"You know you're a sociopath when," and then there's a global pandemic and your life doesn't change.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. I just my
Yeah.
life my COVID didn't do anything but, actually enhance my presence in the available, technology sphere. The people who needed services like mine as a narrator or as a commercial actor or
Mm.
any of those things, I was already there. I already had the remote stuff all set up. I was wonderfully it's terrible to say, but I mean, I was wonderfully placed. If you're gonna have a freaking pandemic, I had a pretty good time of it. People in the
Yeah,
cities
I
had a rough time.
we were the same way when everybody had to talk about doing these transitions to Zoom and all that stuff. Well, like we already had all that tech, or we were infinitely familiar with how to do it.
Sure.
So it took us, half a day to kind of
Yeah.
adjust to remote work for
Yeah.
sure.
So are you guys still
I,
remote? Are you open again yet?
no, we closed the office and we just kind of got rid of it, and
Oh,
so
you
I
let it
don't know.
go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we let it go. I mean, we kept it for, I want to say, maybe 6 months.
Sure. We all
Um,
thought it was gonna be over in like 2 weeks, didn't we? God.
yeah. Sounds like a fire truck's coming here. But
Mm,
yeah. We, after about 6 months, when it was looking like this wasn't going to go away, we just let it go.
sure.
Um, so I'm kind of curious, what's your day to day life like then? Like, what's your schedule like now?
Well, the way that it works, because I get to roll out of bed practically whenever I want, that hasn't changed much, which is really nice. One of the things about freelance is you don't have to ever get up at any particular time, and unless you have a gig for that. And sometimes, and some gigs are early, because if I'm working with a client in Europe, sometimes I have to be ready at 7 a.m. God forbid. I know a lot of our listeners are like already at work at 7, so I get that. But I get to roll out, make a cup of tea, turn my computers on, my numerous computers, and be ready to work at 9, put everything on, and whatever my tasks for the day are. We've got and we have a meeting at 10:15 every day and talk about the things that are the most crucial. And, there's always something that needs my attention. And the thing that I like is it needs my attention with my skill set. So I may be doing stuff that's like similar to QA, but I'm also looking at, when we're going through stuff, I'm looking at performances and I'm looking at the whole picture, as well as all of the other technical things. So that's what's going on when we've got recordings for our game. We have to do script prep, so everything's changing all the time. Boy, it's never boring, I'll tell you that. I mean, there is nothing boring about this. There's always something new. And
I
they know how to. The other thing is, oh my God, Chris, they know how to do it. They do, but that's the
Yeah,
thing. It's like they're not inventing the wheel here. The thing that is
sure.
honestly the most fun is there's a plan. And I'm working in games, for crying out loud, with a group of organized people. What?
Um, I can't tell you, software development that has a plan, like, that is a wonderful thing.
It is. It's
Uh,
epic. It's epic. It's just so dandy. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've like been working with a client and like we got everything planned out, and then all of a sudden, like Friday at 3 in the afternoon, they're like, "We need to go live on Monday," and we're like, "What?" Like,
Nope. Yeah.
we thought we had a week and a half left, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, and so, are you working then like closely with the writers or the directors of the, like, how's that all work?
It is very, very close. I'm part of the VO team, and we everything is everybody knows everybody. It's a family. That's the other thing that's just a knockout, is that the whole group moves forward as a collegial organism. So if I need to ask a writer about something, I can.
That's amazing.
It is. But I mean,
That's a work dynamic that does not exist. I don't know if I say it's rare, but it's definitely not super common to
it's
have
not
that kind
super
of.
common, and that's one of the things that I just absolutely love about this. I'm sure I'm not supposed to be talking too much about the inner workings of this fabulous company, except to tell you that it is fabulous, and the content is stellar. Oh my God, I love this game so much. And the thing that I really loved when I first began in the fall, I've only been with these guys since the fall of last year, okay? Discovering that my heroes are in this game as voice actors, I'm in the stratosphere all the time because I get to work with my heroes. It's just staggering.
That's amazing. Had you been a player of the game before you got brought on?
I actually hadn't, and I was wrong, and I'll tell you why. I thought that Elder Scrolls Online, like, was a thing that required you to have plans and things like World of Warcraft. And maybe I'm mistaken about them as well. I'm not sure about how much you can do on your own. I didn't know with these MMOs because everything is MM. The MM is massively multiplayer. Everybody's playing together, and you have clans and you have groups, and you do quests together and raids and stuff and blah. And I'm thinking, I don't have as a freelancer, I don't have a schedule. I cannot do your clan raid every Wednesday at 6 Eastern time because
Oh yeah, yeah.
I may be working. And so because I knew that I could never commit to being part of a group, I actually never really dived into this game. I didn't. And boy, what a mistake that was, because you can play this game. That's the thing I love about it. You can pick up and play this game whenever you want, and you can join groups whenever you want. And you can do it. And you can have groups that get together at certain very specific times and do things together in the joyful wonder that is playing with people online, which I've discovered because I get a chance to play with my team every now and then. But you can play this game on your own when it suits you. And I know we're looking at the sky, but I'm just going to keep talking because
It looks like power is back on, so we're going to do a walk and talk. One of the fabled walk and talks.
That's the
as we
greatest.
go back home, because also they put music on, and so it's like blaring in my ear. So there's the baby. We're gonna go walk home. That's awesome. I've never played Elder Scrolls Online, but I was a very big WoWer for a while. And I spend many an hour, and so I try to be careful about the MMOs. But no, about you're like, I don't know how much I should talk about the inner workings, but I know our audience always is really interested in that kind of stuff. So how did you get started in the VO world to begin with?
Oh, golly. I was on the radio when I was 9. Because I was brave enough to call a DJ in the afternoon, and when I grew up in Hawaii, and so the favored radio station was KGMB, and it was the little middle of the road station that my mom listened to all the time, and I would call the DJ to either ask for a song, or one day I asked him a riddle. And he thought it was charming, and he put me on the air, and I became a daily feature on his show. So, that was my first.
What was the riddle? Do you remember?
Oh, crikey. Are you kidding me? It was, back in the Elizabethan age. I can't remember what riddle it particularly
okay.
was.
Something about Shakespeare and something.
But I have, I still have my books of riddles. I could actually go look for them for you. But the, I was a thing with his program. And so that got me into, rock and roll radio and being in the drama department in high school and all of that kind of stuff, just kind of scaling forward. I always did stuff with my voice and was on the radio, and I loved video games. It went, starting with Super Mario Brothers, for crying out loud. Actually, I had a Pong set as well when that was available for homes.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Oh, I did. Yeah, look
my
out.
first was ColecoVision. That was my first game console.
Yeah, you bet. So, the thing that happened that really changed the world for me and for us, and I say us as my family, was Final Fantasy X. Because Final Fantasy VII was a game that I bought for my older son, and I think I also bought the console for it so that he could play it, because I wanted to see it. And so a lot of my video game experience with especially anything that's an FPS game, any first person shooters, I just stink at. So I have somebody else play them for me, either my kids or I borrow someone else's kids, to play this stuff for me. But
You borrow someone else's children.
it's like, come on over. I want you guys to come over so you can play this game. You want to come over? My son's friends. It's like, guys, come over here. I need you to play this in a group so I can see how it works. Because I'm not going to play it. I can't even play Grand Theft Auto because the controls are too tactical. I'm a strategy guy when it comes to games. But I love the tactical stuff. I love the stuff that I can play, but I also love a great deal of watching games. But before we had a lot of VO in games, we had beautiful music in games. And one of the things I've learned in my own career, but also one of my heroes, George Sanger, who is a composer for games you know about or have played, like The Seventh Guest and Wing Commander and Maniac
Oh,
Mansion.
really?
Oh, yeah.
The seventh.
He
I
wrote,
love the Seventh Cast. That is
yeah,
one of my
that
all-time
was
favorite games.
absolutely. I'm with you 100%. So George Sanger did the music for that. And he wrote a book called Tasty Morsels of Sonic Goodness. And in that book, he says that 80% of any household experiences a video game through its audio, which is true because you're not necessarily in the room where the game is being played.
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah.
the audio affects the household. So Final Fantasy VII comes into my house, and there is Nobuo Uematsu's music. And everything would just stop. My late husband is an artist and an art historian, and also had an encyclopedic knowledge of music. And that music for Final Fantasy VII was so stunning that seriously we would stop what we were doing and go in and see what the action was. So I realized that I was mesmerized by games. With that particular game, I thought, yep, I need to do something with this. So I started playing a Final Fantasy game myself with Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy X showed up, and it had voice acting by some of the best people in the world. James
Oh, yeah.
Arnold Taylor, John DiMaggio, Tara Strong. Seriously, all-star cast. Matt McKenzie. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. This is it. All of these things are coming together. My love for games and acting. Wow. It is the best collision, like you said, the most wonderful creative collision, the best possible thing. And that was when I decided that was what I wanted to do, and I've been working for it ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I can't hear you, honey.
Oh, am I not? Can you guys not hear me?
I can't hear him.
Uh-oh.
What?
I can
Alright.
hear you just fine, Chris. I'm not too sure what's going on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Nope. I'm hearing a stream, and that is yours. So I don't know what's going on.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah. So there it is. So anyway, that's my story of how I got into it. It's not easy to get into in terms of actually finding work.
I'm back.
Mhm.
Yes, no, maybe?
Still can't hear him. Can you hear him?
I can hear him. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So what
Interesting.
I'm not hearing, what is the link that you have? Are you using a mixer?
I'm just going straight through. Yeah.
You might want to try if you want to right-click his picture and see if the mute option is enabled. It's possible it could have been enabled.
I see Volpe creates. User volume, is that me? Let me see
That would
here.
be his volume.
Okay, well, it's all the way up.
Okay.
Let me see.
I
I've
don't
got you
know.
focused now. Why would I not be hearing you? Do I have you deaf?
Am I deafened?
No.
You are not. I'm not
Am
too
I
sure.
coming through? Am I coming through on the stream?
Yeah, you're
Let's-
coming through on the stream. You're coming through on my end. I'm not too sure what's going on here. I'm actually gonna throw us into a break really quick. We'll be right back, y'all.
Okay.
back. Howdy, y'all.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. We're back to our normal setup. So,
Yay!
yay.
Yeah, we made it.
So where were we?
We were in how to get into VO, and usually when people ask me, how do I get into VO, I say don't, because most people can't stand the rejection. You've got to be able to take it as an actor. Just because you sound awesome or you have you think that you want to be able to read other people's words as though you mean it, you have to be able to take absolutely constant rejection and like any actor. So it's acting.
Yeah.
And an actor's plight is a stinky one.
Words of wisdom by
That's it.
E.V. Cooper.
Stinky. That's right.
Yeah,
I don't recommend it. I honestly don't. Listen, man, when I was taking college acting classes, I took an improv class from an excellent teacher, and he said, first of all, half of you will be gone by Christmas break. Half of this class. He goes, there's 25 of you now. Half of you will be gone at Christmas break. Half of you will leave.
it sounds like the Marines when they go through like Hell Week.
I know. Basic training, but but seriously, it's not easy to consistently be putting content out and having it ignored or literally rejected. Most of the time it's ignored. When you do auditions and things, they're roundly ignored.
Sure.
And you have to keep taking acting classes. You always have to keep learning. Always. One of the ways I actually learn is to teach. The thing that keeps my skill set sharp is teaching other people. Because
Yeah.
I learn new things every time I teach.
Yeah, they always say one of the best ways to learn is to teach. And you know, I teach a bunch of classes. I teach like intro to design, game studio, those kind of things. And so I feel like, particularly as I age in this world, the youngins keep me connected to new things and new ideas, which is
you
also
get new questions. You get you get new questions that make you go, oh, hey, what about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very similar to just what I do in my day to day owning my own business. You know, you're on the road yourself, and you got to make the connections, and you got to make the contracts, and you do proposal. Sometimes proposals take 2 months, and then you don't get anything back, or do grants are the same way, and it's just part of the game. You know, it'd be nice if every minute you spent was compensated in some way, but
It just
that's
isn't.
not. Yeah, that's not how
it's
it
part
works.
it's part of the perpetually blank, sometimes teetering on the brink of perpetually blank calendar / teetering on the brink of disaster business account, at your bank. Yeah, it's just that's part of that is part of it. When people would ask me what I did, around here, oh, I'm self-employed. Oh, I've always wanted to be self-employed. I would say, so what and I would literally say this, Chris. I would say, so what you're telling me is that you want to work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Is that right? Because that's what being self-employed is.
Yep.
They think it's so romantic, like you get up and write your novel and somebody publishes it. It's like, so you want to work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's really what you're doing. It's there was another, was it an economist who said like 80-90% of your labor when you're self-employed, 80 to 90% of the energy you put out is spent looking for work in one way or another. And it's like that for many years, if not 10 years, it's a lot.
I was talking to, we're getting into the weeds now, but I was talking to a friend of mine about like, how much I make and stuff. And they're like, well, what do you get paid per hour? I was like, well, I mean, if you just like look at it, it could be $150 an hour, right? Is what we charge clients. So my time is worth $150 an hour. But that doesn't take into account any of the proposal time, any of the conversations, all of the follow-ups, and then even when you do a proposal, there's always that little edge case stuff where it's technically not part of the contract, but you want to keep the client happy. So you're like, all right,
do it.
I'll put in a couple.
Oops, I've lost you. I've lost your
I've
lost your audio.
Lost my audio again?
Oh, nope. I got you back. Yep. You must have bumped a cable.
I might have.
Yeah.
So this is one of my things about I hate USB. Like USB is like such a junky, it does what it
can be.
does until it doesn't do it anymore. And these
Mhm.
the USB minis are always like they're always breaking. Plus I have a cat now and
Oh.
I'm always like I'm not like 50% sure she just didn't chew through something at any given moment.
Yeah, you never know.
So yeah.
And it's always the cables. Yeah.
No. So I want to talk about GDEX for a little bit because you've
Oh
been
boy, yes.
such a big part of GDEX. I mean, you've been coming since I think the third year, second year. It's been
I think it was the second year because Sean Beeson asked me. I think it was this. I think I showed up for the. It was the OGDE.
Yep.
The second year, and we were at the Science Museum for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And this is year 10 now, if you can believe it. And so
Wow.
it's been exciting, but you have been such a sort of instrumental part of GDEX, and I first of all I want to thank you.
It's my
I really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Fight Club because that is a session that we have done like every time, and every year we have this conversation about like, oh, can you come to GDEX? What are you going to do? And you're like, oh, I've got this idea, and I was like, make sure you do Fight Club.
That's right. Are you sure you want Fight Club? Yeah.
Yeah. People seem to love it, and I know it's it's interesting because it's a smaller session. We try to keep it, like it's not one of these like 50-person sessions. But every time it's going on, people are like walking by outside the room and they're just like hearing people like it's like a John Wick film in there or something. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about Fight Club and how you kind of got that started and like why you think it's such a cool, fun, successful session.
People want to learn how to take bullets, howl in agony, and die. That's just part of the fun of it. And you don't know it intrinsically most of the time. Some people have a knack for it. I think that most people don't. So, for instance, there are groups of skilled actors who all they do for the movies is exertion sounds for other actors. Like an actress who will do all of Jodie Foster's breaths because they erase all of the breathing when they're doing the actual when they actually run the pass for the audio, the VO for the film, and then they add realistic breaths when she has to be running up a flight of stairs. It's not her, it's somebody else.
Yeah.
Wow. When you watch Toy Story and Buzz Lightyear has to fall out of a window and land or fight or do any of those things, it's not Tim. It's some other actor doing.
Are you telling me they didn't throw Tim Allen out of a window and just
Tim Allen did not do the window falling sounds because that's not part of his oeuvre. He doesn't have that. They have another actor who sounds just like him. Is Buzz Lightyear, but he does all of the sounds.
Yeah.
In that Buzz Lightyear voice.
Huh. So every year you come in, you teach that. What are like the main, I don't know, top, let's say 3 top things that you try to get across?
First thing always is understanding what your diaphragm does for you. Because most people don't think about their diaphragm at all. And your diaphragm is this saddle of muscle that's underneath where your lungs are. You know how your ribs have that shape? And your diaphragm is right in there supporting your pleural cavity, that place where your lungs are. Understanding how that works and the business of breathing is the first thing. Because most people don't pay attention. We're not mindful when we breathe. We aren't. Because it's one of the only things that we have that's both involuntary and voluntary.
Yeah.
Okay? One of the other things is blinking. You're going to blink automatically if something comes close to your eyes, but you can also blink on purpose. Well, you breathe throughout the day without thinking about it, but you can also breathe mindfully if you do think about it. So understanding what your diaphragm does and how massive your lungs are is number one. and understanding the rest of the biomechanics of that cannon of air that comes out, and understanding where the points are where you've got control of how you make sound. So that's what I teach. Most of the time, it's teaching people how to say ha, 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 like that, to make it sound. What happens when you sneeze? Ha, ha, it's that sound. What does that
Wow.
feel like? Get used to
Yeah.
that and understand how to use it. That's number one. The other thing is making sure that people know how to open their mouths to let sound fall out, because people are shy for the most part, even if they want to be actors. Because if you need to scream or make a gross sound or do anything that sounds like you're in a fight, you have to be willing to make your mouth do strange shapes or fall open all the way. You have to be willing to open your mouth.
That seems important. Yeah.
It is. It's very important because, for instance, one of the things I teach, it's Fighting 101. It's the rules that are made to be broken, but here's the original rule, is when you are making a hit on someone else, if I'm hitting you, my jaw is shut because I'm in control. I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm going to hit you. And so my control, I don't need to do anything other than, okay? So my teeth are shut. Okay? For the most part, that's a rule that's made to be broken. You can do a hi-ya or any of those kinds of things. But the control, the sound, the feeling of control is here. Okay? I got you. When I'm being hit, that's a different story because I'm not expecting it, or it hurts in a strange place or whatever. And what happens when you're hurt and you're shocked or you're hit in the solar plexus is your jaw falls open and the air flies out and you're shocked and you're insulted by it. And it's different. So it's the difference between or like that. That's the difference between hit and being hit.
Did you get all that, Lucas?
And of
Yeah,
course,
I got all that.
there are exceptions to this rule. Like if you're a tough guy and you're in a fight in a bar and you don't want anybody to think that you can't take it, you're gonna, it's gonna be like Solid Snake in Metal Gear, right? When he gets hit, it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So his jaw is shut, but you can hear the expulsions of air. It's almost like his jaw is shut in spite of himself. It's still
Yeah, and
burst.
Snake has a very at least the original before Keith Sutherland came on.
David Hayter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, David Hayter had a very distinct set of hit sounds and death sounds, and they were very and actually Hideo Kojima used those as part of the sort of mechanisms in the gameplay, which is pretty cool. So I want to Pumpkin be nice.
Your cat is vocalizing.
She is very vocal. She wants to make sure that her opinion is well heard and understood.
I hear her.
But just because we're a little tight on time, I did want to talk about, because I have been blown away just in the past, let's say 5 years, plus COVID time's kind of been a mess, but just by the caliber of game writing and voice acting. It's on a whole other level. And I always have to go to Last of Us. I think that's one of the sort of pinnacles of what's going on. And then, I mean, what Christopher Judge was doing in God of War. And it's really astounding. And you mentioned Final Fantasy, because I think Final Fantasy was sort of like the beginning stage, up here. And I think that they've lost a step, and I don't mean this in any negative way, but you compare sort of the voice acting of Final Fantasy VII, and it's like they have their own sort of thing that is Final Fantasy VII.
Well, 7, hang on, you mean 10, by the way?
No, so Final Fantasy VII, the remake is what. Sorry.
Gotcha. You know what? I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Okay. And I know some people, I guess they like the Final Fantasy voice actor style, but every time I think about what they're doing, like what Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker did with Last of Us and Laura Bailey, and there's just so much good stuff that's beginning to come out. So I just wanted to kind of get your take on what are you thinking about the landscape and where it's going?
Well, there are artistic directors at every level of this stuff, and they're going to be following an artistic idea. And so you are going to have very different styles depending on the game or the franchise. So Final Fantasy VII, the remake, I wish I could tell you who was the artistic director on that. I can't tell you. So I don't know who had the overall notion and what their feeling for it was. I will tell you that Final Fantasy 15, which I played, I don't know how many 100 hours playing that game and just playing it to play with it, because I wanted to be in the company of those guys. So
Sure.
there's 4 guys in Final Fantasy 15, and I became friends with every one of them. And I wanted to be in their company, so I played the game to death.
Yeah,
Okay.
I adored Final Fantasy 15.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
it was a really. I always joke about that game because it's like on paper it's like a boy band cross country road trip. Like on paper that's not really like a game that, like, if you told me that I'd be like, nah, I'm good.
That's the
But
log line. Yeah.
yeah, but it
That's your
got
elevator pitch. Yeah, no, it
yeah,
just was serious.
but it
But see,
definitely got me.
you know what? That's the draw, and that's where the artistic directors and what the cascade of people they choose to have the work done uh, within a vision. It's the vision for that game. That one for us, that one worked.
In your
It's style.
Yeah, in your sort of experience, where is that pumpkin, that, I guess, collaboration between, director and actor and vision, and where do the actors get a little bit of say, kind of
Always.
thing?
Oh yeah.
Always.
So always, yeah. Because here's the deal. You've got a writer who has created a character, and they have an idea of what that character is going to be. This goes for every game, okay? There is an idea about it. And when you do casting and you choose an actor from a group, what you're doing is you're choosing the person who's bringing something to the party that's even greater than you thought it could be. That's how you cast. You're looking for things that actually amplify the character. Not just reading words on paper and not just making it sound good, but actually bringing something to the script that makes it even greater than it is. You know, it's the Laura Bailey thing. You know,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
reading words on paper just like anybody else, but come on, really? I mean,
yeah. And I could talk about Last of Us Part Two until I'm blue in the face, and I don't want to
yeah,
do any spoilers here, but I mean, I
yeah.
think I think the game, like that game, is on Ashley Johnson's shoulders, followed by Laura Bailey had to make it work, which is like this really weird, like those two
Mhm.
carried that experience in a way that, I mean, I can't even think of another game offhand that has that kind of
The
just substance and weight to it.
the job of the director is to not just direct traffic. Because what they're also doing is making sure that there is a cohesiveness between actors who don't record together. You know that all of these roles are done separately for the most part. There's only one company that I know of that actually does ensemble recording. And there may be more, but I know that Bright Skull in LA does it. And that's the only Michael Surix is the only guy I know who makes a point of recording games in ensemble. If there are more, I'd love to hear about it.
Okay.
Um, but but this is where the director's job is so important, because we're not just monitoring what the words are and uh, uh, making sure that things are pronounced correctly and with the with the right emphasis or all of these other things. You also need a team that either supports to the director, or the director him or herself needs to understand the lore, needs to understand the story. Someone needs to be there with story support, so they
Yeah.
understand what the general scope of it is. And when I've been my freelance work, to point it to me, and you
As
know
we
the
should.
things like The Last of Us are way huger than anything I've ever done on my own. God knows. So the games that I've done freelance have a much smaller scope, and it's possible for me to actually know all the lore myself, and to understand all of the relationships myself, and to know all of the script myself.
Okay.
You know, when you get beyond 5,000 lines for a game, one person is probably not likely to have all that at their fingertips, especially because we've got such tight deadlines,
Sure.
which is where you need people from inside a company who understand the lore, know the vocabulary, all of that kind of stuff, who are there for support and that. But there's a vision there.
Are you
And there,
involved in the casting decisions?
boy, I don't know if I should explain that.
Okay. You don't have to if
To
you don't
tell you
want
the
to.
truth, yeah, there are wonderful things I get to do in this company, and I have creative control over a wonderful amount of things, and I just don't think I'm supposed to reveal that.
Okay. You got
Yeah.
that. You got a couple things behind the curtain. Um, so yeah, we got
Yeah.
a couple minutes here. So I always
Mhm.
like to ask, first of all, I've loved talking to you. I appreciate the patience as we navigated this silliness.
Hey,
Um, but is there anything that you want to let the audience know about? Any cool projects you're working on? Any way that they could connect with you, or what, is
okay.
social media the best way? Or
Well, you can find me on my website if you want to see the kind of stuff I've been doing up to this point, at dbcoopervo.com. Can I mention a podcast I was in,
sure,
which is
you can
pretty
mention anything
spiffy?
you like.
There is a podcast called 20,000 Hertz, which is put out by Dallas Taylor. You can find it at 20, uh, is it 20,000? 20K? I can't remember what the website is. I just look up
We'll
20,000 Hertz. You can spell it out.
we'll look it
It might
up and put it in the notes, the
it might be
description.
just 20k.org. I can't remember what the website is. But last October, they released um, a, an interview they did with the sound team for a game called Monster Train. And it is a roguelike deck builder. And so there are lots of little sounds that happen with all of these characters that show up
Mhm.
in this game.
Yeah.
And so there are over 200, I don't want to say over, okay, here's the deal. There are almost 200 named characters in this game
Okay.
who have a host of sounds. Every one of them has a set of sounds, okay? And then there are also vocalizations we used for elements in the game. So there are literally over 200 things that happened that required human vocalization, and it was one actor and me. It was me and Michael Schwalbe. It was one man, one woman, and we did all of those characters
Wow.
over the course of 3 or 4 recording sessions.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That
great.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah, so we did those with the original rollout and then downloadable content. So that one is called Creature Speakers. It's 20,000 Hertz podcast, Creature Speakers, and it's Michael Schwalbe, me, and the sound designer and composer Jordan Chin. Yeah,
Well,
that's pretty awesome. I
yeah,
like that. Yeah, that was
that
that
sounds
was
like
a
a
great deal
project.
of
That's
fun.
great. Well, we'll
Yeah,
post both those links in the video description. And
super.
Divya, again, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being a part of GDEX.
I
I
love
really
GDEX.
appreciate everything.
GDEX is like coming home. It really is.
That's awesome. I'm glad that people feel that way because, again, I say this all the time, but like we're not event organizers. We just kind of made it and built this community around it, and now it's getting bigger and bigger. And this year is probably going to be our biggest yet, assuming COVID keeps itself in check here.
Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah. So, and we have a lot of we've got some exciting announcements, some really fun stuff that we're going to do this year that we haven't done in years past. So, we'll be
Oh
getting
boy.
those out soon. But DB, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Lucas, thank you for handling
Yes, Lucas.
the
Thank you.
transitions and all this stuff.
Yeah, of course. It was a great show.
Lucas
today,
did the heavy lifting today. You did
Ah,
all the
yeah.
walking. Lucas did the heavy lifting.
Nah, y'all did all the work. Y'all are great.
This has been the Volpe Creates show. Thank you everybody for coming. We will see you next week, every Friday at 1 p.m., even when the power is out. We're still here doing it.
Yep.
Thank you everybody, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, y'all.
Bye.